Welcome back to Winn Tucson. We are about to be joined by John Gordon. John is host of the Palm Beach-based, the other wonderful place to live in this country, nationally syndicated radio show, The Truth with John Gordon. Gordon was Trump-endorsed Republican candidate for Georgia Attorney General in 2022 against Chris Carr. Georgia would have been served well to have John. John, welcome to my show.
Thank you, Kathleen. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
A pleasure to be with you.
Yes, thank you. So the reason I asked Kimberly from Publius to book you here was because Charlie Kirk obviously is from Arizona. His assassin, Tyler Robinson, made his first in-person court appearance, and they wanted it to be sealed, the proceedings to be sealed. I do believe now the judge has did not accept that request, and so they're going to be able. I think there are going to be cameras in the courthouse. Can you let my listeners know what's going on?
Well, that is my understanding. I think the first appearance by Tyler Robinson was a lot to do about nothing as far as the case in chief is concerned. They were mainly preliminaries, and I think the defense was concerned about the cameras prejudicing their client. And so they were doing their job as advocates for
Right.
their client, as they well should, to have ensured that something did not occur that would create a taint in the jury pool,
Yeah.
so that he could not achieve a fair trial. And I have no issues with that. We live in America. We have a system of laws, and that young man, as hard as it is to say it, maybe,
Yeah.
is innocent until proven guilty. And I think we all should go to that place.
100%. And I think that obviously we do have a rush to judgment here because of all the coverage, because this assassination of another young man, people want, I don't know that they want it to be closed, but the benefit we have is our legal process in this country. And so I agree with you that we have to fight for it. Now, you have to be an attorney then, if you're running for?
I don't publicize that very freely or often, but yes.
God bless you. I love it.
Since 1979, I have not practiced. I practiced for, I guess, about 7 long years between the district attorney's office and
Yes.
a very large law firm in Atlanta where I practiced business and commercial law. Except for the district attorney, I really dislike the practice of law. And so I entered the private sector and have been a business person for the last 40 years, which I thoroughly enjoy.
Yeah, business is great. It's funny. I did exactly the opposite. I was in business and then worked for our Attorney General's office. I'm not a lawyer, and I proudly can say that. But my 4 years at the AG's office were some of my favorite years in my whole career because we got to solve problems and using the law to do it. And I liked that. And it was, and there were a lot of problems here in Arizona to solve.
I'll just interject that there's a lot of gamesmanship that goes on among lawyers these days, which I just plain don't like. The justice and truth should be the objective, not winning or losing. And when I prosecuted people in Bibb County, Georgia, it was never about winning for me. It was about giving the defendant a fair trial and giving the people of the county a fair trial. And if the guy was guilty, then so be it. But I never worked overtime or bent backwards to try and win the case. I worked overtime and did backflips to develop the facts and then have the judge apply the law.
Isn't that great? And we used to have judges that applied the law. That's the other little wrinkle in the thing. I think it's part of the histrionics that go on in courtrooms. And although, so one of the things that obviously has happened since I asked for you to be here is the Rob Reiner situation, and his son, I think, is appearing right now in court or is about to. That's a tragedy, whether we like his political views or not. Do did you know anything about that? Do you think that this is going to be? There seems to be these trials now. Mangione with the United Healthcare executive. We tend to make these shooters celebrities. Now, this child of a celebrity is a little different, but is that part of what you're talking about? Because then you have to have attorneys come in and do. There's a whole social media aspect that I don't think was probably there when you first started practicing law.
No, in fact, lawyers couldn't advertise. It was considered, and this is not a sexist statement, it's just the vernacular. It was a gentleman's profession.
Right.
That was at a time that we didn't have a lot of females practicing law. But then I went to law school, and I would say 20% of our class was female, and kind of hurts to say it, but they were the smartest people in the class.
Oh, don't let that hurt. My sister's a lawyer in Chicago. That's okay. She's good.
Well, she's probably very smart, and that wasn't a problem for me. Actually, I always admired females that I went to school with because they were always in the top 10 in the classroom. But back to the subject at hand. What really got me going was Trey Gowdy went on Fox and basically condemned Tyler Robinson and pronounced him guilty as charged, and that was offensive to me.
Yes.
Because he was a federal prosecutor.
Thank
if
you.
there was anybody who should be espousing innocent until proven guilty, and did Tyler Robinson kill Charlie Kirk? I have serious questions in my mind about whether he did. And I spend an unhealthy amount of time on YouTube and reading pundits that have looked at it. And there's so much smoke around this whole thing and sketchy stuff inside Turning Point USA and foreign actors swirling around. And Tyler Robinson just doesn't strike me as someone that would be an assassin. I don't think he was capable of making that shot. And that is validated by two expert marksmen who were Navy SEALs who I watched on Redacted, who said neither of them said they could have made that shot.
Right.
That little sight would have been dancing around and your heart would have been pumping out of your chest. And so they were calling it into question. I don't know Tyler Robinson. I have no interest in defending him.
Right.
I do have an interest in defending the truth, and that's all I want. And if he didn't do it, I'm sure he had some level of involvement, just like Oswald was involved in Kennedy's assassination.
Yes.
I think he was an unwilling participant and an unwittingly involved in it, but I don't think that Oswald was even in the sniper's nest. So
exactly. Well, in Oswald, if you look at that situation, and I'm trying to think, I had the author, he was a prosecutor out of New York. Come on, I've got his book at home. It was a great interview, but he pointed out the fact that there was shots from different angles, and how Kennedy went forward and back, and so that Oswald couldn't have been, or at least his shot wasn't the kill shot. And my concern with what you're saying about Charlie Kirk is that it was precise. The shot that killed Charlie was precise. And a
30-06 would not have lodged inside of his neck. And I don't mean to be graphic, and it's painful to talk about it, but a 30-06 would have destroyed. There would have been an exit wound of epic proportion.
Right.
And there was no exit wound. And we're told that Charlie was such a physical specimen and so strong and tough that the bone in his neck stopped the bullet. I'm sorry, I don't buy that, not for a second. So I knew Charlie. We were not.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call him. I wouldn't say that we were friends, but we were more than good acquaintances and had a convivial relationship. He came on my program 9 months ago. We had a good 30-minute interview. He came to Palm Beach frequently. We crossed paths. We would talk. I spent an hour and a half with him one-on-one. just before the 24 election. Charlie was the smartest human being I've ever known.
Right.
And I've known a lot of smart people. He was a phenom, in my opinion. And he was also a patriot, and I think he was committed to his faith. I become wary of some people when they start wearing their religion on their sleeve. Charlie never put it in your face, but it was all ever present. It was just one layer below the surface. And when called upon, he could quote the scripture better than my mother, who had read the Bible 4 times.
Yes.
And so I just had tremendous respect for him. And I think, like the rest of the world, I felt sucker punched. And it bothers me that Erica Kirk, and I'll just put it out there, it bothers me that she wants people like me, people like Candace Owens, people like Redacted, go down the list, to stop talking about it. And I'm sorry. The only reason I'm talking about it is because I want justice. I want justice for Charlie Kirk. I want justice for his family and children. And I want justice for the American people who demand the truth. That's all I'm after.
Well, and John, can I get you to stay with me? I've got to take a quick minute break. You have time?
Of course. I'm a capitalist. I get that.
I think you're great. We are talking to John Gordon. He is in search of the truth, as we all are, and especially when it comes to Charlie Kirk. You are listening to Winn Tucson on 1030 The Voice, your trusted local news and talk. I'm Kathleen Winn, and stay with me, and John Gordon will be back on the other side of this break. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Winn Tucson with my very special guest, John Gordon. John, you've had a long career business. What had you want to have a podcast and do that? Because it's a lot of work, as you know, but you seem to be on point and on a mission to get the truth out there, if I'm being fair.
Well, thank you for that, and I accept your characterization, because that truly is my goal. I've been involved in journalism and broadcast throughout my career, tangentially when I wasn't submerged in it. And when I was in law school, I read the news on the local NBC affiliate in the metropolis of Macon, Georgia, that hotbed of intellectual curiosity.
Yes, I know Macon, Georgia.
Was leading one to ask why.
Yeah, well, anyway, it has to do with defense contractors. Is it really? Well, there was a plant there for Boeing, and anyway, it's a long story. But well,
there's also the home of Otis Redding, the Allman Brothers, Little Richard, Lena Horne.
Wow.
My dad was a banker, and he banked all those people.
I love it.
Not because he was into celebrity or music, just
that's
because
where they lived.
Well, that's where they lived, and he banked the label, and so he banked the artist, and he and Otis were good friends. And my dad absolutely adored Otis. He thought he was a very honorable, good person. So anyway, we digress, but
it's okay.
So I ran for Attorney General of Georgia. We didn't make it across the line, and one of the media outlets that covered our race said, "Hey, why don't you come do a 2-hour show for us every weekday?" And I just said, "That's more than I can commit to at this point in time." And he said, "All right, how about 2 hours on Saturday?" I said, "Done." So that's how it started, and then we expanded it into a podcast, and now we're all over the web and on the radio in 9 cities, 24 AM and FM stations every Saturday from noon to 2, and again on Sunday. And it keeps my head in the game, and I absolutely love it because I get to talk to nice people like you.
Well, thank you for that. And you just, I think in the last couple hours, you posted an interview with Charlie Kirk, and it's a conversation about taking down the federal Leviathan. And I think that Charlie got really close to uncovering some things. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm glad that Candace and Erica sat down. I hope that they both made peace for whatever I do know Erica. I was at their wedding reception. And Charlie, I have known him since he was 21. This was tragic, and sucker punched is exactly. I think you used that term. That's it. It was so shocking that this kid that was going from college campus to college campuses and getting young people inspired about not politics, about God, was taken out in this manner. And I think I look at that he was in South Korea just 10 days before, and thousands of people showed up. And I think it was like, I don't know if they had it planned, but it was terrifying. And I don't think we have all the answers. I don't think that everything is out there. I look at this young man, Tyler Robinson, and I think he involved himself. I don't know to what level. And if he is the shooter, he should be punished. But if he's a scapegoat and there's a bigger criminal enterprise behind it, that's where I go. I hope that it all gets exposed, that we don't get a version of a truth that we're meant to know, kind of like what happened with Kennedy.
Well, I was home from the fourth grade on November 22nd, 1963, and I'd had the flu, and after 3 days, I woke up at around noon or 12:15, and I thought to myself, if you don't get out of this bed, you're never going to get to feeling better. So I got up, I got dressed, I walked down the stairs, and as I was pitter-pattering down the stairs as a 10-year-old, my mom said, "Oh, John, come sit next to me." And she was just a great, loving, nurturing mom, yes, who I miss to this day. I loved her. And so that comment didn't seem out of the ordinary to me, but the tone of her voice was forbidding. And so I sat down next to her. I said, "Mom, is everything okay?" And she said, "No, John, the president has been shot." And as a 10-year-old, I can remember like it was yesterday. My mind was spinning like, what do you mean? I could not process that. And then we sat there for the next 4 days and watched all the events unfold, including John saluting the horse-drawn carriage carrying the president, and the salute on Pennsylvania Avenue. And it causes a lump to come up into my throat still to this day. And I watched Jack Ruby kill Oswald on live television with my dad, and we both looked at each other like, did you see what I just saw? We were in a state of utter disbelief.
Right.
So it has been an interest of mine literally for 62 years, and I just got back from Dallas for the 62nd anniversary commemorating his death. And I think today that we know exactly what happened. I feel like I'm 99.9% sure that Lyndon Baines Johnson ordered the hit, that Allen Dulles carried it out, and Hoover covered it up. And the media was the piece I could never understand. How could our federal government get all these independent media organizations to go along with the narrative? And then we find out when Elon Musk buys Twitter that the FBI had paid Twitter $3.4 million to do what they told them to do: censor people, cancel people, push this narrative about the vaccine and COVID. And then it's like, gosh, it's like going back to the Wizard of Oz. We saw behind the curtain, and there's the wizard, and it's the United States federal government in cahoots with the media, paying exorbitant amounts of money, like $10 million to Politico for subscriptions to the federal government for $75 and $100 a crack. And you just look at it and it makes you so frustrated and angry and sad that we've accepted the fairy tale that we live in a democracy. And I think that we can get it back, but the American people are going to have to revolt. And I mean that seriously.
And we're desensitized to it.
Violent revolt.
Yes, I agree. No violence.
We need a 1 million-person march on Washington. We need to stand in front of Langley and demand accountability and the truth.
I love it.
I'm sick of it.
No, I am. Really I'm a little bit, just slightly younger than you. In '63, I was 5. My mom, I heard her cry out from another room. And I came running in, and she was crying, sobbing, and that's how I remember what happened that day. And and it's, and that's a long time ago, as we know, 62 years ago. Or did you say 62 or 63 years ago?
62 years in this past November.
Yeah, November
22nd. So,
yeah, 22nd. Because my mom's birthday is the 23rd, and she's still here. I still have my mom. She's 88.
Oh, you are so fortunate.
I am.
I'm happy for you.
Well, and I want to thank you. I want to thank you for continuing to do this. And I guess, do you work with John Frederickson?
Yes, we're on the John Fredericks radio network and also on CDN.press.
He's a good guy.
Their digital platforms. We have a great friendship and a good camaraderie. But so the reason that I continue to harp on Kennedy is that if that is true,
yes,
if what I have said is true, then what else might be true?
True.
Did Building 7 implode just because its foundation was weakened? Not an engineer or architect in America believes that. They believe that it was a controlled demolition. What about Butler? What about Charlie Kirk? Those are the answers I want. And
we're going to have you back, and we're going to discuss them again in the future. Merry Christmas, my friend, and God bless you. And thank you, John, for spending some time with us on Winn Tucson today. Thank you.
It was my pleasure. Thank you. Merry Christmas.
God bless you. You are listening to 1030 The Voice, your trusted local news and talk. I'm Kathleen Winn, and we'll be back right after this with Joseph Chaplik. He has something to tell us. Don't go anywhere.